Very good evening, viewers. You're watching Free Press Journal live on YouTube and Twitter. I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. President Putin has just landed in New Delhi at the Palam airport. There's a lot of buzz around Russian president's visit to India. Now, this is a momentous occasion for our country. It is indeed one of those moments that the entire globe is watching very closely because of the kind of dynamics that exist geopolitically. Relations between India and Russia is of utmost importance at multiple levels. So, at the moment, what I can see in my monitor is that PM Modi has arrived to receive President Putin. Both may, in fact, travel in the same car to the destination where President Putin will be residing. What we are at the moment, what we are looking at are several meetings, bilateral and multilateral meetings. I am going to try and understand the importance of this visit, and I'm going to introduce to my viewers Ashwin Ahmad, who's a strategic affairs analyst, joining me this evening. Good evening, Ashwin. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Afrida. Good to be here.
Likewise. So, we are going to talk about India Russia strategic reset, as it were, because what this visit does at this point of time, Ashwin, is it puts a lot of questions on the table about what is in it for India and what is in it for Russia. Now, clearly, stakes are high on both sides. Let's just begin with some of the basic things that we're talking about here. What does this change? The fact that Vladimir Putin has arrived in India, what does it shift? What does it change?
Afrida, before I go into your question, I'd like to give some background. First of
Mhm,
all, this is a very important signal to
mhm,
Russia, to the Russians, to the Chinese, to the West, that we are
mhm.
exercising our strategic autonomy. Now, if
Yeah.
you'll notice throughout, Minister Jaishankar, what did he say? That, we are going to buy oil from wherever we want, despite
Mhm,
Western efforts. So, there's been a lot of Western media reports saying this Putin visit is a surprise, it's a betrayal, etc. It's nothing of the sort.
mhm,
President Putin and Prime Minister Modi spoke 5 times on the phone in
mhm,
2024. They've been in Tianjin, the SCO summit. You saw the Prime Minister's pictures with Putin and Xi. There's a
mhm,
very warm personal relationship. In fact, both Prime Minister Modi tweeted about President Putin traveling with President Putin in his
mhm.
bulletproof car. That
Yeah.
shows how significant the relationship is. The
Yeah.
third thing is, the visit from the Russian point of view is a huge deal. President
Mm,
Putin is under ICC sanctions. We
mhm,
are not a signatory. So, for Russia to come to a friendly country establishes him and China and India as as part of maybe the third pole that we're talking about, the anti, not an anti-Western, but a new set of poles. For
yeah.
India, it is very useful because Russia, as you already know, 80% of
Mm,
our arms come from Russia.
mhm,
34% of our oil comes from Russia. Now, coming to the second point, what has President Trump done? In February, President Trump announced you are buying the F 35, not the Russian jets. You are the S 400. He made that very clear. What has
yeah.
he said? You are not buying Russian oil. I'm sanctioning. He sanctioned the two main Russian oil companies. The sanctions took place in November 21. Those sanctions affect us because we, private refiners, we get secondary sanctions. So, for Prime Minister Modi, there's the last point to say that he is saying I am keeping my friendships. So this is a continuation of policy, and this is in India's interest.
Yeah. I mean, at this point of time, what is significant, I'm going to play out some of the sound bites uh,
Right.
for you in terms of how this entire build-up has happened. And there are a lot of first senior officials, senior government functionaries who arrived here early. They've set the stage for Mr.
now
Putin.
in
Let's
that
listen in.
situation. And I think the time. I think the best time between our countries is on the top now in that situation. And I think the time is changing and we need to go for this changing too. Because now I come to India from Russia and I have a logistic company in Russia, and now I want to say no problem to sell and to buy some goods from Russia because we have a logistic corridors now. It's not problem. Not afraid.
Why Putin's state visit is
Let's just
important to him.
focus.
But what if
Let's one
I
second. This
told
has to
you
be
it's
removed. Rehan,
equally
please remove this video, please. I was coming to the point about how let's talk about trade and the sort of optimism that we just heard.
Yes.
Let's take it bit by bit now and begin with trade. There is a whole uh, issue around India posing up to Russia, whether it disturbs other dynamics or not for India. What is the collateral damage is something that we would be interested to know of out of this, because like you said, Russia is under tremendous amount of sanctions at this point of time. What you just heard, the sort of optimism that is coming from Russia, what do you attribute this to?
See, we have to understand, first of all, what are the aspects in which we are cooperating with Russia. So,
Mhm,
first of all, like I said, 80% of our arms come from Russia. Now, you have to
mhm,
realize in Operation Sindoor, the S 400 defense systems were crucial. So, that is a major thing that India will want. The Russian fighter jets are compatible with the Indian army and cheaper. There is no way that we can give that up. Then we
mhm,
have the strategic economic cooperation program. Now, that
mhm,
I think answers your question because we are looking at a program that will go on till 2030. It's like the Indo
mhm,
UK vision document. Now, so for the first time, we're talking about a vision document. Now, why is that significant? Because
mhm,
Russia was considered our good friend partner and our oil partner. What we are signaling with this is that we are going well beyond oil. We are going to work on everything. Now, what does everything mean? Everything means pharma, everything means agriculture. We are effectively saying that Russia is our anytime friend. So, that is a very strong signal. That is, even more of a stronger signal if you remember what Sergei Gore, the US ambassador designate, said in the US
mhm.
Senate. He talked about US agriculture coming into the Indian market. Now they talked about the F-35s coming in. Now, if you suddenly are saying Indian pharma and Indian agriculture is going to be on the table with Russia, there is certainly going to be a clash with the Americans.
It
There
will
is
ruffle feathers.
it will not only ruffle feathers, I expect a reaction very soon from the Trump administration.
Yeah, no, there have been noises from, say, some Western nations
Mhm.
about this. And I want to ask you, though, another question from our perspective is about if you are saying that we are going to have these ties with Russia, we are going to continue this level of defense trade, and you're saying we are only expanding, where does that leave us? Because then how are we then safeguarding our own strategic autonomy? Does it not increase our dependence rather than reduce, something that we should be aiming for strategically?
So, Frida, there is a couple of things we need to understand. With Russia,
Hmm,
there is no alternative. 30% of our oil is Russian. Now,
hmm,
in the case of Iran, when the US said don't buy Iranian oil, it was much
hmm,
easier. You could find
hmm,
alternatives
hmm.
because Iran doesn't export that much.
Yeah.
Even if you want, you cannot replace 30% of Russian oil, which is
Hmm.
you cannot buy American oil, you
So we
cannot
have
buy.
to be realistic about this, you're
We
saying.
have to be
There's
completely
certain.
realistic. 80%. Then you're
Hmm,
talking about 80% of arms. Now, Russian
hmm,
people have to understand the military. You cannot buy an F-35 tomorrow. You cannot buy a Mirage tomorrow. Everything has
hmm,
to be
hmm,
in sync. Now, suddenly,
hmm,
you cannot integrate that with the Russian defense system. from Sukhoi jets to the S-400. Indian Army has fought on Russian equipment. So let's be clear, it is a need. It is something
Hmm.
that you need.
So that
So
level of interdependence we can't change overnight. Maybe we can't change even long term, from what I gather from what you're saying. That let's be
no,
realistic about this.
let's be realistic. We have
Hmm.
had
Hmm.
and let us also be realistic on the personal level. The United
Hmm.
States, we've only had a relationship or good relationship with the United States after the nuclear deal. We don't have good relations with China. We're trying to get there. We have enough. Russia is our only tried and tested partner. We have never
Hmm.
had a bad relationship with Russia. So,
Hmm.
in this time of global uncertainty, you have to
Hmm.
look out for Russia. uh,
Yeah.
at the same time, there is a problem. Yes, it's not to do with the West. I think Minister Jaishankar and others, Mr. Puri, are more than capable of handling Western pressure. And the
Hmm.
Westerners also, let's point out, they
Hmm.
see
Hmm.
India as a modus vivendi by which to talk to the Russians, which and
Yeah.
say, look, because there's a deal that the Americans desperately want. Trump is not getting it. He would like Prime Minister Modi, perhaps Minister Jaishankar, to pass on messages. The second problem, though, is a little more of a practical one. The
Hmm.
Ukraine war. Can Russia deliver what it promises to us? Already, I think two of our squadrons are delayed. They were supposed to come this year. The Russians have said November 2026. So are they in a position to deliver? We'll have to wait and see. I think as of now, what they wanted, they have delivered. So, but those are two areas of concern.
Yeah. While you were talking, I was also trying to understand, whether in some ways, when these optics, for example, now very soon we are going to see those pictures flash all over of Modi and Putin in the same frame, the bonhomie, the camaraderie, somewhere or the other, there is messaging, right? Let's face it. I mean, all of this is also messaging to the world at large. Uh, in a way, does it also gain us more respect? Because as you explained, that contrary to what we may think that this might ruffle feathers, does it in a way also enhance our global image, that we have partners and we have strong allies, and puts us in a slightly better footing, a stronger footing, as it were?
Frida, I'd like to clear up something for people who don't understand how a leaders' summit meeting is organized. First of all,
Hmm.
it starts from the undersecretary, then it goes to the joint secretary, then it goes to
Hmm.
the foreign ministers who like Minister Jaishankar in this case went to Moscow and met with Lavrov, and there was a
Hmm.
very detailed discussion. So,
Hmm.
by the time a lead, and I'm not just saying this summit meeting, I'm saying any summit meeting that happens, the deals are most already done. The
Hmm.
camaraderie is for the cameras. But,
Cameras, yeah.
yeah, the ordinary person reads a lot into it. That, that
Hmm.
they are such good friends, etc. I mean, it's
Hmm.
done with Modi and Trump. It's done all over. Leaders do it
Hmm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So let us not get into that. Let's get more into what has been said. Now, what
Yeah.
was
I'm going to
significant?
yeah. Yeah. No, I'll
So
let
I'll
you
just
finish your
add
point.
one
I'll,
thing.
I'll play out a few sound bites as well in between. But
Yeah.
carry on. Yeah.
So, what I would say is, if you're analyzing a summit meeting, it is more
Hmm.
important to look at what the foreign ministers are saying. Because what has happened
Hmm.
is the agenda is set there. And what was
Hmm.
significant was when Jaishankar went and met
Hmm.
Lavrov, one statement
Hmm.
really stood out. He
Hmm.
said, we are going to sign a lot of bilateral documents. Now, what does that
Hmm.
convey? If you're sitting in Washington or Beijing, that
Hmm.
suddenly conveys a message to you that there is going to
Hmm.
be a deep need partnership. If there is going to be a deep
Yeah.
need partnership, if I'm sitting in Beijing, that will make me
Hmm.
pause for concern because Russia was still now my so-called junior partner in quotes. If I'm sitting in the United States, you are suddenly wondering, well, where is India? Is India really with us on this? So, is India going to play the role that we wanted to? Because right now, the
Mm,
Trump administration, whether it was on Russia, the Quad, for instance, Quad is not
mhm,
just seen as an anti-China thing. Russia is not very
mm,
happy with an American presence in the Quad.
mm,
With so this is the kind of thing. If India doesn't play that role and has a stronger relationship with Russia, the Americans are also going to take notice.
Let's listen in to some important soundbites. Like you said, the ground is always set uh, at various levels before a summit meeting of this level
Mm.
of two heads of state takes place. Uh,
Right.
Again, I was listening to some of the officials who have come from Russia. Let's play that out. Yeah, one
difference
more of
area
them. Let's
and
listen in.
look how they can create some.
And I saw. How do you see President Putin's visit to India and how it will increase the cultural ties in between New Delhi and Moscow and this very center? How do you see this?
Today is a very important day for our country because we wait this visit for a longer time, and I'm sure that the meeting that will be have with your leader give us the absolutely new, amazing opportunity. Collaboration with a different sphere in the IT, innovation, education, and culture. Today we already have a lot of meetings with our president. Come several thousand people who will talk with the people in the different area and look how they can create something together.
To ask any question and to get a good service. But as of 2026, India is our top priority, and we would like to expand to the south. This is Karnataka, this is Tamil Nadu, and for sure we are expanding to Gujarat. This is one of the most, you know why. So Gujarat is very, yes.
So there is a plan in place, Ashwin. Uh, Russia has done its homework. Obviously, there is always a quid pro quo. Uh, is there a trade-off for India? And in this, what I want to understand from you is that a lot of foreign affairs expert will analyze this and also sound off the pitfalls. Are there any serious one that you see here?
See, it's very difficult to say because we are dealing with an unpredictable man in Donald Trump. Now,
Hmm,
if you looked at the Biden administration, the
hmm,
ambassador Eric Garcia publicly said that we wanted India to buy Russian oil.
hmm,
Now,
hmm.
Trump is a person who takes everything personally.
Yeah.
He's failed to get a peace deal, which he had hoped to get in the first few months, and
Hmm,
he seems to be taking that anger out on India. So,
hmm,
what he's going to do is very difficult to predict. Again, tomorrow, if something is reached on Ukraine, then
hmm,
the whole dynamics could change. So, it's we will expect something. In fact, you may
hmm,
have seen in the Times of India just before Putin's visit, the three
hmm,
ambassadors, and this I think is unprecedented. The UK High Commissioner, the French ambassador, and the German ambassador, they had an op-ed with their joint names.
hmm,
Talking about Russia as being dictatorish, starting the war on Ukraine, and our MEA
hmm.
officials told me off the record that this is unprecedented and unacceptable. It's a
Okay.
it, yeah, it is interfering in a country's internal affairs and our relations
Hmm,
with Russia. So you can
mm,
see
mm,
that the West was already trying to signal that,
mm.
don't do this. And you
Yeah,
can see the unprecedented level. I mean, have you ever
yeah.
heard of three envoys jointly doing an op-ed? No. So
Mm,
this
mm,
is, Europe is certainly going to be unhappy. I don't think there's very much they can do about it because they've been talking to Minister Jaishankar at every level. And our
mm,
external affairs minister has been very firm that,
mm,
I think you'll know that famous quote he made: Europe has to
mm.
get out of the mindset that Europe's
Yeah,
problems are not the world's problems.
not the world's problems. Yeah. And
Yeah,
the world's problems, no, he said that Europe tends to think that Europe's problems are the world's problems, and the
no,
world's problems are never Europe's
not
problems.
Europe's problems. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm,
So I don't think Europe is very much because Europe also, now let's look
mm,
at the other part of it. Europe
mm.
also has to hedge against Trump. So,
Yeah.
because of so they do want that FTA with us because
Mm,
we've had
mm,
the FTA with the UK. And
mm.
frankly, let us be very clear, we are not party to the Ukrainian. Prime Minister
Yeah.
Modi at the most will say, what he said, that,
Mm.
this is
Yeah.
an era of peace. So
Yeah.
Europe understands that.
Mm,
They will go on with business as usual. They will make the noises,
mm,
but go on.
So I want to then, also bring you in on a couple of important issues, whether it is the energy security, defense deals, this multi-vision approach like BRICS plus, SCO, Global South. Do you expect the Modi-Putin summit to somewhere push new frameworks? You spoke about Quad, but what about BRICS, SCO, and especially as global institutions are also facing a bit of a legitimacy crisis as we see it today? Mm, where do you see those dynamics changing in this?
I think people don't understand the importance of multinational organizations. You
Hmm,
see, there are certain things you can say in the BRICS or SEO,
hmm,
India can
hmm,
say, which may
hmm,
be perceived as anti West, anti US. In a
hmm,
multilateral organization's document, India
hmm,
can couch its language in a way it cannot in a bilateral statement.
hmm,
So these multinational statements are very, very important. The
hmm.
second thing is, let us not forget the region. What is
Yeah.
SEO for? It's apart from the trade aspect. You see, everyone has seen the level of sanctions that the US has put. So the
Hmm,
BRICS, you saw President Lula talking about regional currency. And
yeah.
so that BRICS is very, very important in that regard. The third
Hmm,
point is, if you look at SEO, I mean, you look at, there is common terrorism concerns in Afghanistan. Russia, China, India, all of us share this. So, we have common problems and issues that we
hmm,
need to
hmm.
share in these frameworks.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to point out that Russia, China, and India, the war on
Hmm.
Gaza, we share similar positions. So, we can formulate frameworks there. So, the BRICS and SEO are very useful for that, even South Africa and Brazil.
Yeah. At this point, I'm looking at pictures again of President Putin and Prime Minister Modi traveling in the same car. He's arrived, being warmly welcomed. I am going to, of course, at some point, flash those pictures as well as soon as we get full access to it. But right now, I can see the two gentlemen walking out of the Palam airport, heading to the car. They've in fact, they're seated now and they are heading out. One a quick soundbite I have, Ashwin, of the students who are optimistic and who are looking at exchange programs. Probably, what are the options? What are the sort of opportunities for students? Let's first quickly listen in to
गाइड
some
करा
of
है
them.
कि अगर आप रशियन प्रॉपरली करते हो यू बी नॉट बी जॉबलेस। तो मुझे लगता है कि अभी इन फ्यूचर भी बहुत सारी अभी रशियन कंपनीज रशियन यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हमारे इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट कर रही है। वो रेगुलर आते हैं, क्लासेस हमें देती है, जिससे हमारी प्रॉपर रशियन स्पीकिंग स्किल, लिसनिंग स्किल और जो स्किल्स चाहिए होती है हमारी आज के कॉर्पोरेट लेवल में और जो इवन गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर्स में, तो वो हमें ट्रेन किया जा रहा है उस लेवल पे। तो मैं देखता हूँ कि हमारी जो दोस्ताना संबंध है रूस के साथ, ये आगे और बढ़ेगी और हम सब जो भी रूसी भाषा सीख रहे हैं हम अपने फ्यूचर को लेके पॉजिटिव सोचते हैं कि हमें रूस में और इवन भारत में रूसी संबंधी जॉबों में मौका मिलेगी।
बहुत शुक्रिया, आप बहुत अच्छा बोलते हैं गौरव, बहुत धन्यवाद।
So there is that at that level as well, at the student level as well, because of course jobs are drying up here, and if more opportunities open out for our students, do you see that as a healthy way forward?
See, before I answer that, I'll just put a few little background for our viewers to
Mm-hmm.
understand.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
first thing is Russia, in Delhi, Russia
Hmm.
has engaged diplomatically with India in a level that no other country has. If you see
Okay.
Minister
Hmm.
Jaishankar ever giving a speech, the first
Hmm.
person in
Hmm.
the row is the
Hmm.
Russian ambassador, Mr. Denis Alibov.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
he is there. They have
Hmm.
engaged with India in a level that no other country has, frankly,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
New Delhi. And the
Okay.
second thing is, the Russians understand our Indian mind and heart. And what do I mean by
Hmm.
that?
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
recently did a seminar here in New
Hmm.
Delhi where if they were celebrating the Russian cosmonauts day, and as an
Hmm.
Indian, students, everyone who walked in,
Hmm.
you saw huge posters of Rakesh Sharma and Sare Jahan Se Acha,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
saw the Russian counselor, Mr. Babushkin. He speaks fluent Hindi. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
Jai Hind and all he was saying. So,
Hmm.
that patriotic pride, they understand very much. They understand the Indian mindset in a way no one else
Hmm.
does, no other
Yeah.
country does.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the coming to your students part, our students are very, very comfortable in Russia and Ukraine because
Hmm.
I think somewhere it's an issue of values, somewhere it's
Hmm.
an issue of, it's not expensive. Going to Europe
Yeah.
or the US, it's not that expensive to study in Russia. A lot of them go. A lot of them who
Hmm.
want to be doctors, they can get a degree and they come back.
Hmm.
So, and a lot of them are very, very comfortable. I
Yeah.
don't have the figures, but a lot of them stay on. They've been staying on before this and work in
Yeah.
Russia and work very happily.
Hmm. Couple of last two sound bites. One, of course, is political because Rahul Gandhi has made a point today about Putin's visit. But before that, Abhijit Iyer
It's huge
makes
given
a very
the
strong point,
recent
and he's again a strategic
developments.
affairs analyst. Let's listen in.
I think it's sorry to use the word, but a great middle finger to the Americans without doing it. It's a very carefully calculated one because we're buying oil from the Americans now. At the same time, we're showing them that our relationship with Russia is not negotiable. And that, it requires a lot of guts to do that. It requires a lot of diplomatic finesse to do that, and I think we're doing that.
So a lot of people are looking at it as Prime Minister Modi's way of showing courage, as it were. Himmat dikhaya unhone. If I read it correctly. So that is being welcomed by several quarters. Let me also play out what Rahul Gandhi said, and then probably I'll take your closing comments as I close the show. Uh, so basically, when asked about this in Parliament, I'm going to just play that out for you.
जनरली इस सरकार की पॉलिसी है नॉर्मली ट्रेडिशन होता है कि एलओपी के साथ जो भी बाहर से आते हैं उनकी मीटिंग होती है ये वाजपेयी जी के टाइम होता था मनमोहन सिंह जी के टाइम होता था ये ट्रेडिशन रहा है बट आजकल क्या होता है कि जो फॉरेन डिग्नेटरीज आते हैं या जब मैं कहीं बाहर जाता हूं तो सरकार उनको सजेस्ट करती है कि एलओपी से नहीं मिलना चाहिए तो ये इनकी पॉलिसी है ये हर बार करते हैं जब मैं बाहर जाता हूं ये करते हैं जब लोग यहाँ आते हैं मैं करता हूं हमें मैसेज मिलता है कि हमें बताया गया है कि सरकार हमें हमसे कहती है कि आपसे नहीं मिलना है थैंक यू
So the hostility is at multiple levels.
So, coming to Rahul Gandhi, you see,
Hmm.
foreign policy isn't decided on domestic politics. It's,
Yeah.
our stance on Kashmir is consistent with all parties. If you see in India, we've had a continuation on foreign policy throughout.
Hmm.
Our stance on
Hmm.
Russia is the same is on. So, these kind of comments don't really help. They don't change the
Yeah.
situation on the ground. So, as
Yeah.
what you're talking about as the India-Russia relationship remains, regardless of what Yes, if Prime Minister Modi said something, that's a different story. But I wouldn't attach too much.
Yeah.
What I would what I would focus on more in this India-Russia relationship is, well, I'd look at what President Trump has to say, what President Xi has to say, if anything, and certainly what the Germans would have to say. Why I would say the Germans? Because we are looking at the Germans next in terms of an. So, would there be any significant? I don't think so, because
What about the
this
middle finger to the US that Abhijit was talking about? How do you
middle finger.
respond to that?
Actually, that's a very. You see, the Americans are upset.
Crude way of putting it.
So
Huh.
what you do is you buy a
Yeah.
little bit of oil from them, but then you have to understand the oil from America to reach us is, I mean, it's going to take so many days. It's practically not very useful. But you realize it makes Trump happy, so you buy a little bit of oil. Eh, The second thing is, it makes practically no sense at all. For anyone who understands oil, American oil is shale oil, so it is priced at twice the. So if oil a barrel is 35, American oil is at 70, because it's much more expensive for them to produce for a number of technical reasons. So there is no practical sense for India to buy American oil. If we do it,
So
it's
some
like
of
how
it is making trade sense and some of it is making diplomatic sense. And that is where foreign
it makes
ministry
no
comes in
trade
and
sense. It
no, no,
makes no.
I'm
uh,
saying in the case of America, it is no trade sense, but a lot of diplomatic sense.
See,
And in the other case, it's all trade sense.
See, India has always been very good and very careful at balancing relationships. Now, traditionally, what we've done with if you read carefully, we've agreed with because we are the eighth largest, I think, importer of arms. So we buy a little bit more of American arms. We buy a little bit more of American oil. But these are not things that will significantly alter our economy or help us in any way. It's just, like you say, giving a lollipop.
It's
Also,
appeasement.
it's
There is an
appeasement.
appeasement
That's
element.
the
Yeah.
right word. It's
This is
it's
why I said,
appeasement.
I mean, there is diplomacy there. There's a bit of diplomacy.
Unfortunately,
May not
yeah.
make trade sense, but that is what diplomacy is about, isn't it? That somewhere you do some stuff which is not actually trade sense, but it
Yes,
is helping somewhere else, not visible
yes.
to you.
Absolutely. So you do this because in terms of trade, you do need the Americans. You need them to be happy, and you obviously want the FTA to go through. So
Yeah.
if you buy a little bit more of American oil, you buy a little bit more of American arms, because we need that FTA and we need those tariffs to end. So, but this is not a middle finger. This is just diplomacy, that you keep both sides
Yeah.
happy.
And you
So
guard your own interests because why wouldn't you? I mean, no one can grudge you for doing that. And probably
absolutely.
there is, yeah, I mean, globally there is acceptance for such a thing that, well, you need to safeguard your interests first. I thank you so much, Ashwin Ahmed, for joining us today. You gave us interesting perspectives. I enjoyed the conversation. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Afrida. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwin. Thank you. Well, viewers, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. The idea was to break down for you the importance of the visit of Russian president. Continue to like, share, and subscribe our videos. If you like more such content, let us know in comments. And do feel free to tell us what you thought of the conversation today. Thanks for watching. Take care. Good night.